as Tangcay, senior artist in editing, right? F1. How amazing was that? Anyway, I'm so excited to be here tonight. Thank you all for coming out this incredible Monday evening for F1. Thank you to the Apple American Cinema. Please give it up as I bring out cinematographer Claudio Miranda. I'm just going to say it wrong, when you tell them, please drive. That's the recommended. All right. I love this one. It's such an incredible movie. I know there's so much you don't want to go through. How many of you have just seen this for the first time tonight?
Amazing. Love it.
Incredible. So again, congratulations to you both on this incredible collaboration. Claudia, I'm going to start with you. We love you as a cinematographer. Your work on this is phenomenal. When did Joseph first tell you about this, and what did he say to you?
I think we saw Grand Prix was one of the first things we saw, right?
Probably.
I think we went to see it at IMAX, we saw this, and we just kind of, so we said, I want you to kind of think about this movie and, how do we do this for real? How do we get people immersed? And is there any technology we need to kind of figure out for this movie? And those were kind of like the loose kind of beginnings. And what's great about this whole team is Joe brings me on almost a year early on, not consecutively, but to be able to kind of design these cameras that kind of specifically are one-offs for these cars. So there's a lot of technology and a lot of things that kind of work out. They're not really that friendly for other people to use, and there's not even a record button on them, but I think they really get the people immersed in the car in what you see right now. We shot, full frame lenses, and
No, I love that because the innovation, for what you did with Top Gun Maverick, which is going to screen.
right.
And then you invest these cameras for F1. Joseph, what's your reaction? In collaborating with Claudio and then seeing what he had done to really place us inside those cars.
Well, we tend to talk a lot about the technology, but it always comes from story and character, and how do we connect the audience with the characters in a movie like this. So that's what drove all of this innovation that Claudio did. Claudio, he is an amazing technician, but even more than that, he's an incredible artist and an artist first. But he also just happens to be kind of a genius when it comes to the technology side, which makes him so unique and special. But yeah, it came from this idea of how do we put the audience in the car with Sonny Hayes and Joshua Pierce. And our partner on this, Lewis Hamilton, said to me when we started, he had never seen a film that really captures what it feels like to be in one of these cars. So there's a couple reasons for that. One is when you put film equipment on a lightweight race car, it slows it down. And that is exactly the last thing we wanted to do. We wanted to keep the speed up. So it was actually Lewis and Toto Wolff, who's the team principal for Mercedes-AMG, who said, don't take a movie car and try to make it fast. He said, start with a race car, and we'll help you build that car. So we bought 6 F2 cars, which are like 90% of an F1 car in terms of speed, and we shipped them to Mercedes, and we spent about 6 months transforming them into the cars that you saw in the film, which look like F1 cars, but underneath they have an F2 engine. And as we were building these cars for Mercedes, all of the work that Claudio was doing with Sony was being integrated into the chassis of these cars. So we selected our 16 or 18 mounting points, And then we designed all the cabling and batteries and transmitters and receivers and recorders into the floor of the car. So these machines were built to film this movie. And as Claudio was saying, it takes time and a lot of expertise, but I think in going through all that work, we were able to capture something really special. And then the other side of it is Brad and Danielson had to learn how to drive these cars, which is insane. Like, they're not just acting in this movie, they're actually trying to not kill themselves while driving on a Formula One track. So, but it's all about story, it's all about character, and it's all about feeling like you're with them in these machines.
I was going to say, that's such an incredible thing to hear, like, the amount of training that Thomason has to do, that Brad had to do to learn, how to essentially be, racing drivers. How does that help you when you're like, oh my God, thank God we're not doing stunt people? I can actually zoom in on this emotion as they go around Silverstone, as they go around Vegas, and the different circuits, like, tell that visual story.
I mean, the whole point was to be able to see how fast we're going. We're going, over almost 200 miles an hour with the actors, and have a camera. You're seeing, wow, this car's going really fast, and all of a sudden you're connecting to the driver who's also going really fast. That's kind of what we wanted to kind of say, like, this is amazing speed. And sometimes if you're just on the face, it's hard to really tell, but it's nice to connect the drivers in the environment. And I thought that the little pan rigs and the immersions and all the different places really kind of grounded the actor into the scene. But there was also other cameras that we had. There was some, Apple made some little pods that we actually put in the race cars too, and that actually helped get some other footage that we kind of integrated in from some of the spa race, the ramp going up. I mean, it's such a big journey. I mean, all these racetracks were all so different, and they were just like Silverstone was a little bit mostly overcast, and then all these races had this being London. But what was interesting is that also Vegas, such a temporary structure. What I loved about that one was that these lights are so low that it gave like this kind of staccato feeling that gave it like a real kind of sense of speed. Abu Dhabi, I think, was one of our trickiest ones to work on. It was actually our final race because it also had to deal with sunset into evening and into night. So, and then all the scenes kind of had to break in chunks to serve those little sections. So it was really particular, and everything's really surgical about how much time we have to get every little section. So, I mean, it was great with Stephen Marioni just kind of being with us and telling us exactly this is the little part we need, and
The editor.
the editor. Yeah.
What are the challenges? Because I think you sort of touched on it. Like, this movie was shot on the real F1 tracks, whatever you're seeing in the movie. What are the time constraints of setting up the lighting and the frame and making sure you're getting what you need as the real F1 races are taking?
We had to take everything we've learned about filmmaking and throw it out the window. Because normally you are in control of the lighting, how much time you want to spend on a scene, how many days you want to shoot it. For this film, because we were committed to shooting it during the Grand Prix, we were on the F1 timetable. And often, we would get a couple of minutes to shoot scenes. So that opening sequence in Silverstone where Brad and Danielson are in the national anthem, and then they walk down through the grid, going Peter Banning and get in the cars and pull away, that was all shot in like a window of 17 minutes before the real British Grand Prix. So we spent 2 weeks rehearsing the actors and our cameras with a stopwatch, with the FAA watching us to make sure that we could actually hit those windows and pull the scene off. And that meant our actors were going to get 2 or 3 takes. And whatever they did was going to go in the movie because we had 140,000 people there in a race about to start, and what you get is what you get. So That's very different. And for Claudio, lighting-wise, like he said, overcast, that's what we got, and that's what we shot. So,
I mean, if you go around the track, half it's front lit and half it's back lit. So.
yeah. So it was, we had to kind of just embrace the fact that we weren't going to be in control of things we normally were, but the benefit is that you're going to capture something you couldn't get any other way. There's no way you could stage that scene with all the drivers getting in their cars around them. So that was the trade-off we made. And it was amazing. It was stressful, the pressure has never been higher on any set I've been on for those moments. But I found that the crew and the cast all kind of rose to the occasion and delivered in those, precious moments.
As I think as I said before, like, I really love the emotional aspect to this storyline. There's a lot of tension, there's a lot of stakes. Like, what conversations did you both have about creating that conflict between Sunny and Joshua right at the beginning, and how that changes through the races in terms of visual, whether it's framing or lighting?
Well, it starts with the script. It's got to be on the page. And then you have to cast the right actors. And the more films I've made, the more, it just keeps hammering home to me the importance of casting. And finding Danson Idris to play Joshua Pierce in this film was, a miracle. What he was able to do in this film, to go toe-to-toe with one of the biggest movie stars in the world in his first film, and really just create this character that's so alive. And he is the antagonist, but he's so likable because you totally understand where he's coming from at every moment. The relationship with his cousin manager, the relationship with his mom, all that stuff Danson's able to bring to it. But it has to be on the page. You have to cast it right. And then, if you want to talk about framing, composition, we were always looking to create that tension between these two characters.
I mean, as far as framing, I think we just kind of picked the angles we needed for the scene to kind of, if we wanted to go intense, we would push in a little bit more. It kind of just changed on the moments we wanted to capture, where the cars were between each other. And, the drivers, when you see the tires go this close together, I mean, they're actually, sometimes even I was going like this, like at our monitor central. I mean, so there is, between all the drivers, we do go out there and we have a scripted plan of what we're going to get and get these pieces to tell our story.
I want to go back quickly to Danson Idris, because he is so incredible in this movie. He both does go toe-to-toe with Brad. Can you talk a little bit about that casting process that he did with your incredible casting director, Lucy Nevin, and what he made her?
Yeah, so, we brought him, we were in London, we were in Claridge's, we brought Danson in, we shot a couple of, we just read him with Lucy on camera, and it was one of those things where as soon as you saw him on screen, you knew this was the guy. But the other element of this film was he had to drive. So after that audition, we sent him to a track just north of London, and he did a full day of race training, and we recorded the whole thing. And Lucy was there watching, and at the end of the day, he made her get in the car and go for a ride as well, just so she could experience it. But what we learned was Danson listened, and he was a fast learner. So he didn't have to be a great driver at the beginning. He was actually, had a lot of experience on the track, but he listened and he was safe, so we knew he was trainable. And he worked very hard for 4 months to work his way from, sports cars to Formula 4, Formula 3, eventually getting to Formula 2, and even had a chance to drive a Formula 1 car one day. But it's not only the skills, but it's also the physicality. Like, if any of us got in one of these cars after 2 laps, our necks would be shot. We wouldn't be able to hold our heads upright. And that's such a unique kind of muscle combination that you can't really train. We see Sonny is trying to do it on his bed, which is like something the drivers do, but you just got to spend hours in the car to get to the level that Brad and Denison got to, and it's pretty phenomenal how fast they were by the time we were ready to shoot.
That's an incredible story. I just have to have just to share that with you. But Claudio, your cinematography in this is just truly remarkable. I'm just curious for you, what was the most challenging, whether you're looking at the script or whether you're out there on sets or shooting those intimate moments, what was the most challenging sequence for you to actually pull off?
I mean, I don't know if the sequences were, because the thing about this movie, what it is, it's a world movie being made. So there's Mercedes that we dealt with in London, and there's Sony that's in Japan, there's Apple in California, there's Panavision that's in Los Angeles, there's Graham Kelly in London, there's all these people that just were kind of communication from far away to build these cameras. For me, that was the biggest challenge, because I'm dealing with people I haven't dealt with Mercedes and dealing with them building cars. So kind of our movie is a little bit like execution of what we kind of planned. So our shoot days were, I think we're just executing, which I think wasn't the challenge. The big challenging was just how to get this camera small, and just talking to people in Japan, talking to people all over around the world, talking to my assistant Dan Ming, talking to Noodles who did the transmission of the cars, talking to all the people, the frequency that we needed to have while they're running re-races. We had this narrow band. It's just, talking with F1 and what they would allow us to do and where they allow us to put the towers. It was just, there's so many people that took months and months of planning to get this together. So that for me was the biggest challenge.
Can you talk about shooting that balcony scene with Carrie Condon, who's also incredible in this? You have a whole cast of them, but Carrie and Brad on that balcony, and he really opens up to her. I thought it was so beautifully shot, but also, again, the emotional moments happening there. And what you and Joseph talked about.
I mean, what I do love, that's a real location. We're really on a balcony. We're really up high in the air, which does create a little bit of lighting challenges.
And it's really the night before the Grand Prix.
It's really the night before the Grand Prix. So you see the people, you see the stadiums being set up. So it's real time, and there's Vegas, and there's lights that are annoying me sometimes, but and I try to control them, and some things are a little bit out of your control. And in the end, the lights, the stadium lights, I was trying to these billboard lights would just go white every now and then. That was driving me batty. That in a way, it kind of grounded the movie. Like in a way, I kind of thought about it like when I watched the movie, and I kind of like that these things kind of blow out, and it grounds the actor in the environment. It doesn't, because I think maybe if I did control it too much, I might have felt a little more synthetic.
But a lot of people asking me, like, why are we not shooting this on stage? We went to the effort to go to Las Vegas, to rent that suite, to go outside. It was 45 degrees, it was freezing. And as Claudio said, you can't control the billboards, but just putting the actors for this film, I felt like they had to be there that night. And the interesting thing about that scene is it really came out of a conversation with Lewis Hamilton. When we spent one day kind of reading through the entire script with him, and when we really got into why it is he races, he told us this kind of beautiful speech about there are certain times that when all the conditions are right, he told me the car disappears. And as soon as he said that, I knew how we were going to shoot that important scene at the end. It was going to be the only shot where you don't feel any piece of the car in the shot. It's a clean POV off the front of the car with Lou Touchdown Driver driving at full speed around that circuit. And we banked the camera around the turn, so that's the only shot we did that, and that's what gives you that sensation of flying down the track. So it was really Lewis that inspired not only the scene itself, but how to shoot the sensation, the feeling of flying.
I love this collaboration that you've had, for years. How would you describe it? You're like, this is my next film. I'm going to pick up the phone and give him a call and be like, this is what you. How does that make you feel as a director when he says yes?
Well, it's fun because we always, it's like Sonny says in the film, new day, new challenge. We always seem to find something to tackle and a new challenge. And I think we've actually found it for our next film. We're not going to talk about it right now.
But we're talking about it already.
No, we're not talking about it yet. Maybe in 2 years. But it's just like I said. First of all, Claudio's an artist, and we've done 6 movies together and worked together for probably almost 20 years now, which is amazing. So there's a shorthand, which is really nice on set when you've got so many things you're working against you, and you're trying to get the shot. To know that Claudio and I are kind of on the same page in so many ways makes it really easy. But I think that's why I always feel comfortable throwing a wrench in the mix and a new problem at us for every film, because so far, I think we've tackled a lot of interesting things. So yeah, I'm looking forward to the next one.
So we'll be back here in 2 years to find out what secrets. Claudia, I've got to ask you, how would you describe the shorthand, and what is it like for you getting a call from the show? Like, okay, now I need you to make cameras for racing cars and airplanes.
Space.
Space.
What I love, what we started working with, we always kind of, what I love is we don't really go to the same kind of movie next. It kind of leapfrogs into something else. And I always love that I don't feel like the movies we've done together are very, like Tron is different than this movie, and Oblivion is different than, they're all just, only the Brave is different. They're all Top Gun. There's similarities, but it's like, they're just new challenges in everything we do. And I sort of love this little challenge of how do we use the technology to get our story across. And I just love that we can tinker away with this stuff, ship it away.
So what have you learned from Claudio, working from your issue decades?
What have I learned from him?
Yeah.
Gosh, so much. He's worked with so many directors I admire. So when I came to LA in 2005 and got my first commercial, the executive producer I worked with, and David Fincher, I think, convinced Claudio to do it with me. It was, I think, the last cigarette commercial ever filmed. It was for a clove cigarette brand from Jakarta. I mean, it's a crazy commercial. You can find it on YouTube.
You filmed the extinction of cigarette commercials.
Yes, we killed the cigarette advertising commercial. But no, so it was. He's been an amazing collaborator for me, because I was able to just kind of take from him all his experience working with, David Fincher and Tony Scott and just all these incredible directors who I admire. So I've learned a lot from him, and I think I've just figured out maybe some ways to challenge him along the way. But it's been a great collaboration. Those are very special in this business, to find someone that you can really connect with, and so we've done 6 together, looking like 7. So so it's been great.
We are ready. We are so ready for Lucky 7, and we were so lucky to have this conversation with you both tonight. Before I let everybody take a break before the next movie comes up, any last words on F1? And what has it been like, I guess, seeing the reception? Because I know some of you in here have seen it multiple times.
It's been amazing. We made this film to be seen on the big screen, and that's what, the audience really came out for it. So thank you for coming out and seeing it here with Arrow, my neighborhood. That's what we make movies for. We make movies to be seen. This is, how I grew up watching film. The next one you're going to watch is another one made for the big screen.
In space.
So yeah, I just want to thank the audiences for turning out. This is what we're going to keep doing. We're going to keep trying to find ways to pull you out into theaters. And just thank you for coming out. Really appreciate it.
cinematographer Joseph Kosinski, Claudio Miranda collaboration. You guys are something great, but Joseph, I want to introduce the next movie.
Yeah.
So coming up next is a movie Claudia and I did a couple years ago called Top Gun Maverick.
Yeah.
Here we go.